What's it been like for you guys? Ali, you want to go? Oh yeah, recording started.
I can go first.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm Abigail. I'm a member of Kings for Change, which is a student group, which I'm sure we're going to talk about in a sec. I guess my journey has been a bit strange because at first I was very recently I was not very involved or interested in climate related stuff. I kind of thought there were lots of social issues and there were a lot more urgent ones that I felt I needed to put my attention on, and so I didn't really focus a lot on it. And then my church started to get quite affected by some of the low emission charges and the new congestion charge rules and all of the stuff around central London. And my church is right there in Elephant and Castle, and it was really affecting the work that we do. And at first that made me even more anti-climate change policy, because I was like, these policies are really affecting our day-to-day lives. But then I kind of started working with Citizens UK, which is a community organising charity, and I met other people who were interested in climate change, but in creating policy that dealt with it in a way that helped local people, that didn't shut them out with all of these charges, or in a way that wasn't creating inequality, because some people could pay the charges and other people couldn't. And so I realized that these people were also unimpressed with these changes and these charges, but they wanted to change in a way that could actually create climate change policy rather than not create it. So that's kind of how I got involved, and
that's really interesting. I can see how it links it to your work with community organizing and advocacy with KCL for Change. That's really interesting. What about you, Bethan?
Hiya, can you all hear me okay?
Yep, all good.
Cool. So I'm not really sure how it was something that first came around for me. I've always liked nature. When I was younger, my parents said I used to sing to trees. So when I was 14, I became veggie. And I originally went for ethical reasons, and then I kind of did some more research about it and started learning more about the climate-related reasons, the sustainability-related reasons, and eventually I went vegan. And again, that was kind of driven ethically, learning more about the animal agricultural industry, but has definitely been fortified by my knowledge now of how much animal agriculture affects the planet, being the leading cause of ocean dead zone, species extinction, numerous things, rainforest deforestation. So I think that has really, learning more about that really pushed me more into the sector of, I don't know if I feel like I can call myself a climate activist, but I definitely got involved in some activism, going to the Fridays for Future protests when I was in sixth form, and then going to some larger protests and XR protests when I came to London, which has been really great to meet more like-minded people as well. One thing I will say from my journey is that I definitely tried to go in too much too soon, learning about zero waste and not just veganism, but seasonal, local veganism, which again are all incredible concepts, but it's also massive lifestyle changes that not everyone also has the liberty to make because of, financial circumstances. So I think learning to find a middle ground with what I can do at the moment and also what is sustainable for me, talking about, sustainability as well, in terms of me and my mental health and my life. It's been interesting finding what that looks like.
That's a really interesting point. Yeah. What about you, Ali?
So the question was personal sustainability, right, in journey and professional. So I think, well, before working in the King's Sustainability team, I was a student at King's also. So I studied geography, which was great, and I really enjoyed that. I really liked picking geography, and the thing that really grabbed me to geography was the fact you went to go on field trips and do research trips abroad. So that was the thing that sold it to me, but it was definitely the right decision. And obviously everything you sort of learn, which is geography, is sustainability. It's everything around the world that you see and want it to become is geography, really. And very much a human geographer, and looking at kind of human behaviour and politics and sort of behaviour change and everything to do with that. So it was a really good subject to study, and definitely linked into what I'm doing now as a career as a sustainability officer in the sustainability team at King's. And it's an amazing role, and it's an amazing team to be working with for the university. And as a student, I didn't really kind of grasp how large the university is, but also how much impact it has and the potential it has for really positive impact and change. Whether that's from procurement, so I think we spend around 2.4 million on non-pay, which is going towards our suppliers and the goods that we buy. So it's massive impact, and the good that we can do with that money is a huge potential. To our energy supply, so we get 100% renewable electricity at King's now. So it's hearing about what King's was doing already was amazing, that I wasn't aware of as a student, really. So through running SLC, it will be great to actually get in touch with more students and work with you in residences, so you can be involved in helping shape the progress that we make too. But yeah, as a student, I knew I wanted to get involved in sustainability, so I did some volunteering when I could. So worked with University of London to try to make their meals in the halls of residences more sustainable, so largely introducing vegan options, because I did go vegan in my first year at university, and it was a catered halls because that was the cheapest hall. So I was like, well, I'm staying in there because it's the cheapest one and it's also catered. But they didn't have any vegan options, which was a bit of a dilemma because I didn't have a lot of money, but I knew this was a decision that I wanted to do, and I didn't want to eat animal products anymore. So to have that offering to students is really important for the environmental reasons, but also to make it accessible to people who want to make that choice. And then in my final year at King's, I volunteered with the sustainability team, again around sustainable food. So that was working on the Sustainable Restaurant Association rating, which is a sort of extensive assessment looking at sort of three broad areas of sustainability, whether that's the environmental impact that King's has, our sourcing, so a lot around society and how we treat our staff, but also our suppliers, ethical as well, and our environmental aspects as well. So on our non-food environmental aspects, so our energy, for example. And then you get a rating from that, and you get an action plan. So me and a fellow student were working on that, and through that sort of got connected to the sustainability team. I knew that we did that year-long internship, so applied for that and luckily got it. So I've been at King since, working in the team. But yeah, it's an amazing team, and we're always working with students, whether that's in a voluntary capacity or paid roles as well. And we always want students to be involved. So definitely, if you're tuning into this call and wanting to be involved, you're definitely in the right place to do that. And I'm always happy to talk to you. And as we'll talk about later, we have the meeting tomorrow. So that's definitely a great place to connect more on what you would want to see King's doing and residents doing as well.
Yeah, sounds really cool. I think Sigrid has joined as well, the president of the KCL Climate Action. So hi Sigrid, you can turn on your camera whenever you feel like, and yeah, we can talk.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. Hi. Sorry for joining late.
No worries, we just got started.
All right, just a sec. There. So, hi.
Hi. We still can't see your video.
Sorry, can you hear me now? I'm so sorry.
Yep,
I had
we can
to.
hear you. We can hear you. Yeah.
turn off my phone. So my name is Sikri. I am the president of KCL Climate Action Society, and I was also in the sustainable living communities last year as a resident in Champion Hill. I am a second year student at King's. I study international relations, BA. And so I can just tell a little bit of how I got involved in this. As I said, I was living in Champion Hill last year. Sadly, now it has closed down. It was one of the King's residences. And before I moved in, I did apply for this opportunity that I had with the sustainable living communities, which was a tryout for the vegan vegetarian kitchen. So I was in a flat with 7 other people that were also vegan or vegetarian. Before I started at King's, I had become like more or less vegetarian, but I wasn't really sure what exactly I did apply to. I just thought it sounded really cool, so I just applied, and then I realized when I got into the kitchen that I got into this vegetarian kitchen. When I started talking to them, I had no idea what it was, but I got in touch with the sustainability team at King's through this, and we did some collaborative events as well. We did like potluck dinners with the others. There was another residences at King's that had some projects going on as well. And I also got in with the King's community gardens with the sustainable living communities, which was really cool. There's a garden at Guy's campus where we planted veggies and some herbs. Every Wednesday, but I believe it's closed at the moment. But then I got into I wanted to do some more active stuff. Before I started at King's, I was also a member of an environmental organization at home, and I wanted to continue this at King's, and I realized that there are lots of opportunities. I heard about the sustainability team, what they're doing, which is really nice, really good, and I decided to join Climate Action, which is a society that was founded in 2019.
Okay.
I attended some of their events, and then in February last year, they expanded committee. So I applied for the communications officer and I got that. So I got into committee in the middle of my first year, sorry. And then I decided to apply for the presidency and got elected, which was really nice. So now we are, we've been I've been working with this team for almost a year now, like since April last year. Are you all first year students? Or?
Well, I'm a second year student.
Yeah.
Of linguistics.
All right. I said you okay. Are you living in residences or?
Yeah, I live in residences. Not at the moment, but yeah, I live in GDSA.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't, but yeah. I used to live in GDSA though.
Oh, cool. Nice.
Yeah.
So what sort of led you guys to like where you are now? Leading student societies around sustainability and like environmental consciousness and like so many other issues. And Ali as well, like what was your motivating factor for you to like take up sustainability as like a full-time job?
should I go for it?
Yeah.
So as I said, I got engaged with sustainable living communities already when I started at King's, or before I even moved in. So that was a really good opportunity. I think that King's Residences provided that sort of as an easy starting point to get into sustainability at King's. It was really effortless to get engaged with that. And I think the people were really nice and ambitious at the same time. And I realized that King's is actually doing a lot that I otherwise maybe wouldn't have heard about if I wasn't a part of the SLC. But yeah, then I heard about climate action events. I went to one of them where they had a lecturer in geography who's also a part of the IPCC team. She was having a talk about what she's working on in geography and climate governance research. And I thought that was really interesting, and I got to know these people. And I also represented the sustainable living communities at some of the meetings with all the sustainability societies, and I met more people through that. Also people from Veggie Society, Eco Society, XR, and I realized that it's actually a lot going on at King's, which was really motivating for me. And as I said before I started at King's, I was already engaged with that at home, so I wanted to find a platform for that at King's. And then I got into committee, which I really liked. Was communications officer, so we were writing emails like for the email list, and I just decided to continue. The former president decided to step down. She was in her going into her third year, and a lot of other committee members had lots of other responsibilities. So I got into that because I think there's so many other ambitious people working for this. Yeah. And it seemed like there were opportunities of actually making changes, because also administration was starting to sort of understand that students are interested in actually bringing about tangible changes within the institution. Absolutely. And which is also reflected in the carbon neutral target. And now there are more than 200 people working on that. So yeah.
Yeah, it is really inspiring, isn't it?
It's nice to organize events at King's. I think too. Like a lot of people are interested in attending and campaigns as well.
Right. Yeah. That sounds really good. What about you, Bethan? Wait, is it Bethan or is it just Beth?
Yeah, either is fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I normally go with Beth, but I'm really not picky about it. How I became involved in general in life, like I said, I kind of had a love for nature from quite young, and I think I cared a lot about, I guess as an overarching term, social justice issues, so much that I wanted to pursue investigative journalism when I was older, and yeah, kind of actively work in that sector. And I think when I realized that there's something kind of overarching all of these issues, and that can be climate justice, in the way that it affects everyone, not equally at the moment, because of resources, and also because it's like disproportionately affecting the global south right now. But it's the idea that that it ties into so many different things: economical justice, racial justice, the fact that I don't know. I think I started to get more devoted, I guess you would say, to climate activism when I realised just how intersectional it can be and how it can affect so many different areas of life. And then in terms of KCL VegShock, which I'm the president of, KCL VegShock is the shorthand. It's KCL Vegetarian and Vegan Society. I joined last year. I really enjoyed the events. I met some really cool people. I was also in a sustainable living community last year. I was in Wolfson House, and they did a zero waste project, which was, yeah, it was really cool. We got given these it's kind of like a starter pack, I guess, with say like reusable cups, and yeah, and things like that. I can't entirely remember everything that was in it, but that was, I don't know, to finally be in a place where, because I come from a very small village in Wales, where it's a farmer village, so there's a veganism is not really a thing there. And sustainability isn't really a conversation that people have. So to be able to come to London and see that there's, you know, people who have the same interests and that you can learn and grow with these people, that was really, really awesome. And that's something that we're trying to bring to VegStock now, even though COVID has had its difficulties for everyone.
That sounds really great. What about you, Abigail?
Yeah, so in terms of, I guess, first I was part of Kings for Change, and then I became involved in climate and sustainability stuff. So with Kings for Change, because we're like a community organizing group, so our like agenda or the kind of things we take on or the stuff we work on, it just depends on what individual members or people we're connected to care about. And the kind of first thing that made me start to care about getting involved in climate related stuff, because I had a conversation with someone he needed more people to support his campaign, which is called Just Transition. It's to do with an equitable, fair transition to a carbon neutral city, like for London being a carbon neutral city. And he was extremely passionate about it. And that kind of like his passion and his interest kind of like got me on board. And it wasn't until I'd like worked with him and heard from other people that I started to realize that I also cared about this, and like my church, like I was explaining before with my church, like it did also affect me. So that's kind of how it works with organizing. Like you meet people and you have these conversations, and at first you might not really have kind of any interest in an issue, or it might seem like it doesn't relate to you or it's not relevant, but through these conversations you can kind of like your mind starts to open and you start to realize like actually no, this is relevant. So since then we worked on the Just Transition and did some organizing at uni for that last term, and then we recently got in touch with, there's a guy at King's, he's a medical student, and he started a campaign for fair energy bills, so kind of encouraging people to switch to like greener energy providers to save money, but also to like help the environment. And that kind of, it was relevant to us. We noticed that just like the previous campaign, that was also relevant to us, and we kind of got involved in that too. So we're not so much like a sustainability organized like student group or society, but there have been these campaigns that have like really connected with us as a group, and that's kind of how we've got involved in them. So yeah.
That's very, really cool. So, Ali, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I guess, getting involved with the sustainability team. So, I mean, I was volunteering with them in the final year, as I mentioned. But I think it was just everything to do with food sustainability was definitely my in to sustainability is a very broad subject, and I know that word is slightly outdated and means a lot of things. So like Abigail thinking about just transition, like that technically I guess is sustainability, but sustainability I think everyone associates it with energy and carbon and all that jazz, but actually it means so much more than that, and it is social. And I think definitely thinking about the Sustainable Development Goals is a really good frame for it, and it's a good way to get people in to understand what it actually means. And I think everything that I was learning at university in geography was definitely pointing me in that direction. So yeah, as Beth mentioned, climate crisis, it impacts people unequally, and it's impacting developing countries unequally and women unequally. And all these things just made me more angry the more I was learning. So food sustainability, the environmental side was my in, but then learning more and more, it just became more evident that the more people are aware and working in this field or campaigning in this field or volunteering or whichever way, it all matters and it all makes a difference. I think so. And I think definitely I see my sort of blinkered vision at the start of it when I was focused on food sustainability on the environmental side, but actually food sustainability environmentally and socially need to go hand in hand. Otherwise, how much of an impact are you making, particularly in this country with food justice and the inequality of food access, for example? That's so important and needs to be built into any way you address food sustainability on the environmental side as well. So learning a lot and always learning about it, but that feeds into my passion and where it started. Was applying for lots of jobs, but luckily got this one at King's. So definitely happy to be here.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up because this was one of the questions that someone sent in about like sustainability being something that is inherently linked with social justice. Because like you said, like there's a perspective that we hear often that disadvantaged communities in developing countries are often blamed nowadays for not, for example, leading low waste lifestyles or, contributing to a lot of the emissions worldwide. Whereas we often they don't have the means to like take an alternative route, and sometimes developing countries are often also bearing the brunt of climate impact with like floods and cyclones that submerge entire cities and things like that. So what are your thoughts about all of that?
Yeah, I was thinking about that when Ali was speaking, because I think myself as well, I thought a lot of what I knew about climate policy was very individual oriented and very much depended on the agency of the individual. And to me, it seemed like it assumed that everyone had the same agency. So kind of when there are like limitations on the kind of cars you can have and you're encouraged to get an electric car, it's a very like individual type of thing, or if you're encouraged to cycle and all of these kinds of things. And so I did think that those things were kind of contributing to inequality, because not everyone has the same means, the same agency to take on these kinds of life changes. And what we really need is some more community-based kind of interventions that enable people to work together to bring about the change, and like kind of government intervention to that kind of doesn't just depend on one person or a few people making changes, but can encourage a whole group. And I think, like as you were saying, that's like a better way to achieve equality in our kind of goal towards climate justice, rather than just like random changes across the population.
Yeah. And this is like an open question, so anybody who wants to jump in, please feel free to. Yeah, what do you think, Beth?
No, sorry, Beth, you can go.
Oh wait, we can't see you because the camera. Sorry.
Sorry. So I think that's really good that you mentioned that as well, because it's something I didn't mention earlier, but of course that was a big motivational factor for me as well to get engaged too, because it's such a huge social justice, like global justice issue, sustainability and like all aspects of sustainability and how they are like inherently interlinked, as you said, Ali, as well. I think also now, like when I got engaged with sustainability team, and when I started at King's, I didn't really have the deep understanding of the issue. Like I knew about the climate crisis, I knew about the importance of sustainability, and I'm from the Faroe Islands, which is a really small country where I'm always like surrounded by nature, and like food sovereignty and food security is a big thing here, and we get a lot of locally sourced food, so that was really important for me to continue that as well, that like food sustainability, when I moved to London. And I found it really, really nice that so many people are interested and like engaged with that, even though it's living in a city, that it's actually possible to live sustainably and also be engaged with activism and with social justice movements in London still. But yeah, I think this past year, my knowledge, my awareness of climate justice has really increased, and I've gotten a more sort of a broader understanding of the issue. Whereas a year ago or a year and a half ago, I was really focusing on the behavioral change, that we need to stop using single-use cups, or like always bring a water bottle, and like those small things, which of course are important. But now I've sort of gotten to understand that the issue is so much bigger than this, that it's not enough to just stop using straws or bring your cup to the cafe every time you get takeaway coffee, and that in order to actually bring about change, we need like some systematic changes and like institutional changes, and within like governments and like nationally, internationally. So yeah, I think like that has been like that's really important to always have that aspect, that it's like as climate action society, or as a sustainability group, we should focus on the individual, like the responsibility shouldn't always be at the individual level. So whereas it's really important to have that individual change in your life, and of course everyone can make a change if everyone was cautious of how we consume individually, and how like the choices we make with like food and plastic single use, that would bring so much change. But we also at the same time need to push for the systemic change, to bring about the climate justice, because for example, the climate crisis is really disproportionately affecting people, and ever since I learned about how bad it is with the climate justice or climate injustice and inequality, and that like understanding has really changed my perception of the whole issue, I think.
Yeah.
Whereas now I'm also focusing on that in my studies on climate justice and how it's affecting the global south disproportionately, and women and other marginalized people.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, speaking of social justice, I would like to draw attention to Abigail's work as the head of KCL for Change Society, which is an up-and-coming student group at King's. And from what I know, you guys provide space for like community organizing and advocacy and campaigning at King's. And Abigail, please feel free to tell our audience about the Fair Energy campaign.
Yeah. I'll just say that we're not a society, we don't actually have a hierarchy or like a structure. So I'm not the head, I'm just a person. No one's the head. But yeah, so the Fair Energy Bills, the Fair Energy Bills campaign, as I said, was started by a guy from King's at his church in East London, and he's now bringing it to King's. And it's basically to kind of encourage students and staff to switch their energy provider from one of the big 6 companies, which are often giving unfair pricing strategies and charging people way too much for their energy, and then for them to switch to more sustainable providers, which often tend to be cheaper as well. And so in his held switch days where people would come and someone would show them how they could switch. And they would there would be lots of kinds of links that people could send around to get savings and stuff. Like if your friend has switched, they can give you a link and then you can switch and save lots of money. And it was really successful in the institutions that it's happened in so far. So the kind of first stage is to have like a switch day in February that we can invite staff and students to and support them to switch. And then we're hoping in March we can have an outreach type event where we can go to some local institutions in around Kings, so like community groups and churches and places around Kings, and kind of tell them about it too. And so it's kind of just open to anyone. We're actually having a meeting tomorrow. I know it's very last minute, but if you are interested in like being more involved in organizing and you want to like be really stuck in, we're having a meeting tomorrow that you're welcome to come to. I think maybe I can give the information to Rad and she can share it on Instagram somehow.
Absolutely.
All sorts of out. But yeah, and if you're just like interested in switching yourself, then you can like keep an eye out and we'll be making the switch day known, but it'll be sometime in February. Yeah, that's basically it.
Wow. Sounds really, really cool. So this is another question somebody has asked. What is your guys' like favorite thing that you've done as part of like a sustainability group at King's?
I can probably answer easier because I haven't, yeah, you guys have probably done a lot more stuff than me, so you've got a lot to choose. But we had 2 house meetings, which are like large meetings. Well, they weren't super large, but they're meant to be as large as possible when people talk about a particular topic and share their views. And we had 2 based on the just transition, what I was talking about earlier in terms of like transitioning into a greener city in a fair and equitable way. And people kind of shared their views on that and spoke about what they think needed to be changed in order for us to achieve that, and what they thought like marginalized groups were experiencing in terms of the kind of effects of a poor climate and the effects of pollution and how it affected marginalized groups. And it was just really great to hear the views of fellow students and of staff on that issue and how it had affected their personal lives. So people told stories about their own experiences of being like priced out of their communities because of gentrification, and like the struggles of not being able to cycle to work because of a lack of cycling routes, like lots of personal stories. So yeah, that was my favorite thing that we've done.
That sounds really cool.
I can go next.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's difficult to choose. Ooh, laptop's fallen. It's difficult to choose. I think personally, one of my biggest or proudest things is probably the Sustainability Champions program, which we run from our team. And it's mainly a staff program, but students are also involved, helping teams out on their progress. And we have teams based in different office settings and departments to our research and teaching labs, and also our residences. So students getting involved in SLC this year are very welcome to get involved, and we'd love to have you help shape the sustainability of your residents. But yeah, I think that program is probably my proudest thing. It's grown a lot this year. And the past couple of years, actually, we've now got over 500 staff and students involved in that, actually shaping the sustainability of King's and progressing it further. And without Sustainability Champions, King's would definitely not be as sustainable as it is today, and progress would definitely be slower. So yeah, I'm really proud of all our champions as well. And our 102 trees that we planted at the Morn Library in 2018. So you can see them, and they're growing bigger and stronger every day. But yeah, I think that was a highlight of the day, an event that we did.
That's so nice, so cute. I'm gonna have a look at those trees next time I go, for sure.
When did you grow those trees, Ali?
That was December 2018. So the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, that was their first big tree planting weekend. So as a Londoner, you could get up to 2 trees, like for your personal garden, but universities and big organisations could claim more. So the Library Champions team organised that, and they managed to get 100, but then one champion brought in their 2 personal trees, so it made it 102. But yeah, it's really nice. We've got like a blackthorn shrub and some rose. What is it? Rose, not rose hip. What's the one I'm looking for? Hawthorn. yeah, hawthorn trees, cherry trees, silver birch, I think. So yeah, it should be good. I've not seen them in about a year now because of COVID. Yeah, they should be doing well.
Nice. Nice. That's really, really
So
cool.
nice.
How about you?
Okay, I'll continue. So in the biggest things, I think in last spring or last summer, I had the opportunity to do sustainability auditing with the sustainability team, which was a really good opportunity. It was really really exciting, really interesting. So we did a short course, like introduction to sustainability auditing, and then we had actually it was all online because it was after the pandemic hit. So I was teamed up with another girl, and we got assigned like 3 or 4 cases, which was 3 different departments at King's, and we had to go through their documents, like files on sustainability, on how they're doing, and then we had to evaluate how that department was doing in terms of sustainability, and it was taking all aspects of sustainability, so social, environmental, and economic, and we were evaluating their sort of behavioral change after the sustainability champions, right, Ali? It was it was a project of the sustainability team. So that was really, really interesting. So we had some criteria that they had to fill in order to get either a bronze, silver, or gold certificate as like in terms of sustainability. So that was really interesting. So first we looked through the documents, and then we had a video call with the head of sustainability in that department, and we talked to them and went through everything that they had done so far in terms of sustainability and evaluated that. So I think that was really interesting to get that opportunity. But in terms of sort of collective action, I think I'm really proud of what we've done this year with climate action, since everything has been online. The transition has been working well, I think, to organize events on Zoom, and we've had some really interesting events about water security, about sustainable cities and urban planning, and the green recovery, energy transition, decarbonization. We've had academics at King's and the members of the government and from Chatham House, from other research centers, and I think that has been really, really good. We've also established some partnerships with a consultancy firm, a sustainability consultancy, and we're working on some other partnerships as well with some of the people that we had speaking at our events, and I'm really I think it's really motivating to get people from the industries and like politicians and like people that are working in these like corporate jobs or as politicians that are climate activists at the same time. I think has been a motivation to continue as well. And we're also running lots of campaigns, which we have been able to continue, even though everything has been online.
Yeah.
And then also being a part of the Climate Action Network has been really nice. That actually people are motivated and ambitious. I think this has been it's been really good to have that aspect besides my studies, I think.
That's really good. That you're getting a lot of work done. What about you, Beth? What's your favorite thing about sustainability at King's?
Again, it's really difficult to choose a favorite thing. In terms of, I mean, it's probably the community, meeting people. The most kind of fun thing I've done was actually a protest. And although it doesn't really sound very fun, because the topic of the protest is very serious and very grave. But attending the climate protests, I think it was last year, I think it was with KCL XR, but there were some other people there. It was nice to gather together and be with other people that also cared about those issues. Yeah.
That's really cool. I personally also do enjoy protests. I know they're very serious, but they are fun to attend. So yeah, like the more I hear about it from you guys, I get more of a sense of exactly like how many like quality activities King's does around sustainability all the time. And yeah, it's just really interesting to know that. Oop, I think Sigrid went all dark.
The blackout in the Faroe Islands.
Oh, yeah, take your time getting back on. So, everyone, I would like to reintroduce you to Ali, who is the Sustainability Officer at King's, and she has a special presentation prepared for us about sustainability at King's and all the activities surrounding it and about the SLCs. Take it away.
Okay, Rad. I don't have a special presentation.
I actually need to go.
Oh, no, that's fine.
I'm at the library and they're closing now.
Oh, oops.
But anyways, it was really, really nice to meet you, really nice to talk to you. And I see that this is being recorded. Will you post it anywhere or send it to anyone, or how does it work?
So basically, it's going to be on our YouTube.
And
it's also on our Instagram, so I will send it to you there.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
See you.
Brad, read the presentation. I didn't create a new one for SLC because I was kind of unsure about what the setup would be. So I can sort of talk freeform about what we're doing. We've also done an intro to sustainability presentation, so I'm happy to do that as well, whatever you think best.
I think let's talk about the SLCs, actually.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, I attempted to share screen. Just to highlight the Sustainable Development Goals. No, it's taking a bit long. I'll leave that. I'll just talk a bit freeform. Okay, so SLC, so to kind of start from when it started, so it was sort of the brainchild of one of the SLT senior leadership members in estates and facilities, which is where sustainability at King's technically sits, although we're not really just estates, we're also strategy and lots of other bits and bobs as well, but that's our home. And SLC was born because sustainability is her passion as well. And she is aware of things that they were doing in Canada in particular. So lots of Canadian universities do a similar format around sustainable living communities, and that they introduce that into their halls of residences. So we thought that we should be doing that at King's, given we have a sustainability team and we need to make lots of progress, and we know that our students really care about sustainability, whether that's from hearing from them directly when we work with students. Also, the National Union of Students and SOS UK do annual surveys to students, which is one of the big ones that we promote, called the Skills Survey. And in that, we hear from students and find that around 92% of students who have been surveyed across the UK have voiced that sustainability does matter to them. It's also something that they want to see more in their education, in their research, and want to be signposted to what their own sustainability is doing. and actually forms part of the decision making on when you choose a university as well. So if not just the moral choice, it's also we definitely know our students want this, so we need to be doing this for a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
In particular, I think it's really important to be doing the sustainable living communities, because most of our students, particularly our undergrads, this might be the first time they're living independently and making initial decisions around maybe the food that they eat, or the bank that they bank with, or energy supplies when they move out of their halls of residence as well. So all this information we can be giving them to signpost them to the most sustainable, be it environmentally or socially responsible ways to live within your means. And to do that in the early stages of their independence is really important, and can actually shape the rest of their lives potentially.
Yeah.
It has a huge potential impact. We know that like brands often try to target students in first years, whether that's the laundry detergent that you use, because if you stick with that from your first year, that might be the laundry detergent that you use for the rest of your life. So sustainable education should be equally that from the start of your independence. So it started in its first pilot year last academic year, so that was September 2019, and then sort of culminated and ended around February, March last year, 2020. So we set it up in different ways. So we had a student actually helping us run that programme, who was amazing, and we set up kind of different groups of flats in residences. So that was vegan and zero waste. We had the intention that they would be specific flats, students be all together in those flats in their residences. So Champion Hill was the vegan flat and Wolfson House was the zero waste flat. And students would apply when they're applying to their residence as normal, and they could state if they wanted to be part of those flats. Yeah. We had over 200 students voice that they did want to be part of those flats. However, because it was a pilot, we accepted around 7 students to each flat. So it was not many students, and not as many as we would have liked to support in those flats. But given it was the first year, we wanted to try and do it on a small scale. And it seemed to go quite well. I mean, Beth can voice more of your experience on it, and Sigrid could also at later events as well. But the aim of students committing to either zero waste or vegan flat, they didn't have to already be vegan, they didn't have to already be fully zero waste, but just commit to actually trying and learning more and building it in as much as they can into their day-to-day life, with the support of our sustainability team and the residences team as well. So, as Beth mentioned, students in those flats, particularly zero waste, got given sort of a starter kit, whether that is reusable bottles or metal straws or like tote bags or whatever it is, just simple things that actually help you out day to day to try to cut down your waste. And vegan flat as well was given advice and like a cooking brochure of different things that you can cook, reduce waste, and good nutritious vegan meals as well. And then as Resi Life and the residences run lots of weekly events, we wanted those events to link to sustainability, whether that's a tea talk that isn't overtly sustainable, but actually try to introduce sustainable conversations into that. It's also socially sustainable as well, so it doesn't have to be very in-your-face environmentally sustainable, but it's all about bringing a sustainable community together through supporting each other as well. So it's all about well-being as well. And pointing students to the Sustainable Development Goals as outlined by the UN. So those goals were set up in 2015, and they overtook the Millennium Development Goals, which were started in the millennium in 2000 and ran until 2015, although there were lots of shortcomings on those Millennium Development Goals. So those SDGs sought to overtake those from 2015 and run to 2030, and are trying to be a lot more inclusive around what sustainability actually is, and very much focused that everyone needs to be part of this and doing their bit around it, because the Millennium Development Goals was sort of quite focused on developing countries as well, and like this is something that they need to be doing, but actually no, it should be something we're all doing, and actually a lot around the countries who have been the biggest polluters actually. So we all need to be doing our bit, and very much focused around the 3 pillars, so environmental, social and economic sustainability. So events needed to link to those, but also explicit sustainability events as well, whether that's, as Sigrid mentioned, the vegan potluck that the vegan flat were all invited to, but also all these events are open to anyone in residences who want to attend them and to learn more. We did a tour of Naught, the zero waste shop on Guy's campus, since now closed sadly, but will hopefully reopen at some point in the future. So that was something for the zero waste flat, but again, anyone who wanted to attend was very welcome. Doing lots of gardening sessions at the Guy's community garden, to going to a zero waste fair in East of London near Christmas 2 years ago now. So yeah, lots of different events. And that again was mainly run by our student assistant helping with that, but again our team and residence team supporting on it. So that was largely it, but this year obviously it's starting again as of tonight, and we'll have our first meeting with students tomorrow. So I think very much instead of planning everything in advance, we really want to co-evolve it and create it with students this year. So the first initial meeting tomorrow will be sort of just having a free-form conversation with students around what they want to see their residences doing, and also what development and skills do they want to get, and knowledge around sustainability. So that'll be useful initial conversation to shape it. But again, this year we've already created that form for students to commit to being a zero waste or vegan flat. Again, we're open to expanding the criteria of the different types of flats as well. Whatever that might be, we're open to suggestions. But yeah, it's really exciting. Exciting to see where it goes. Yeah.
Nice. So we've got a question come in about what kind of activities is the SLC going to have this year, given I'm assuming that it's different because it's going to be online. So yeah, I guess we are trying to retain most of what we did last year into this year as well. So I think it's just the difference going to be that everything's going to move online. And so, for example, like cooking classes where you sort of taught to make vegan meals or like vegan substitutes for meals, and upcycling guides, DIY guides, and you like help with, leading a zero waste lifestyle. So it's definitely going to be more of an online thing this year, but we're still aiming to give you all the support you need. So, Beth, what was your experience like as a member of the SNC last year?
Sorry, had some trouble with the mic. Yeah, it was like I said, I feel like being able to meet like-minded people really well, on the topic of sustainability, kind of made my efforts towards sustainability more sustainable, just because being surrounded by a community or some sort of a support network definitely makes things 100 times easier. And being in Walton House, we were also super close to Naught, which, as Ali mentioned, was the zero waste shop. And that was awesome as well, because zero waste and sustainability and veganism have all gotten a bad rep, definitely, for being very white and very privileged, both which are, completely valid concerns. But I think even looking at what Naught did in bringing kind of zero waste products, goods, foods to people at a student friendly price, that was incredible, because that was one of my biggest concerns about going zero waste. It was going to be crazy expensive, because some of these stores absolutely are, but that made it so much easier, definitely. So fingers crossed for a reopening, but yeah, we will see.
Yeah, that sounds really, really cool. Yeah, I guess, Ali, do you have anything else to say about sustainability? I would just like to point out again that we have our first event tomorrow, and it's going to be on our team, so everybody will have access to it. Please feel free to join, because I guess this year, like given how uncertain everything is, really want to make sure that the SLC is something that students are shaping according to what they want to see and according to what they think is important and necessary in residences. So yeah, there's that. Um, Anything else, Ali, you want to bring up about SLC?
I think one thing I forgot to mention was that, as I mentioned previously, we've got the Sustainability Champions programme,
Yeah.
which is staff in all different areas actually progressing sustainability of their department, their area. And we have all King's 4 residences involved. Obviously, Champion Hill is temporarily closed, but the 3 remaining active ones are still involved. And as part of that, we'd like to try to form a sustainability committee linked in with SLC, but linked in with the staff managing your residence, if it's a King's own residence, to actually shape the direction that your residence takes on their sustainability and what matters to you and what impacts you think we should be addressing in your residence. So is waste a massive issue that we need to tackle? Because you're living in your residence, you know what needs attention and what matters to you and how can we bring it to your residents more. So that's something we really want to get off the ground through this and hopefully have more conversations around that on our bi-weekly SLC meetings on Wednesday lunchtimes-ish. So yeah, hope to see everyone there. Other than that, there's lots of other ways to get involved with sustainability at King's. So all the amazing societies like VegSoc, student groups like KCL for Change. There's so much good stuff going on for students who care about sustainability, no matter what area of sustainability that is. We've recently launched the Climate Action Network as well, which is again co-creating how we reach our net zero carbon goal by 2025 for King's. So that brings together students, staff and King's alumni around that on our 7 subgroups, from everything from embedding sustainability in education to making sure we are divesting and in our pensions as well, which is a massive area for fossil fuel investment, which needs to be tackled, to zero carbon research as well. So that's another thing to get involved with that we'll probably talk about later on other SLC events as well.
Awesome. That sounds like quite the range. So we have one final question from somebody who's asking us, what advice do you have for somebody who wants to live a more sustainable or a socially conscious lifestyle this year?
Shall I? Oh, hello.
Yeah.
I'll start by saying that I'm not sure I have the authority to give this advice, but I'll say what I've done personally that has helped for me. In terms of sustainability in relation to social consciousness and social consciousness in general, I think hearing news from a range of sources is helpful, and going outside of your comfort zone, listening to different voices, different people, even listening to people that you don't necessarily agree with, because I mean, as we know, social media and echo chambers and kind of confirmation bias online means that we've become more polarized, which means that we've become very intolerant when talking to anyone about anything, which is when people end up shouting and going, how could you think that? Like, why would you not think like me? So yeah, that's my first piece of advice, I guess. And my second would be to take it slow, start slowly. I know a lot of people start by just switching their milk out to oat milk or something, and kind of dipping their toe in. I'd say that especially if you have any history of, say, like restrictive eating or certain mental difficulties, because it can be difficult to suddenly go straight into everything. And yeah, also don't feel guilty if you mess up. Reach out to other people you admire, and YouTube is a great resource. I watched so many YouTube videos on vegan food, on sustainability. Whenever I don't know something, I type it into YouTube, which is perhaps not great always, but yes.
No, that's really helpful. It's a good list. What do you think, Abigail? I think you're muted.
Sorry.
That's fine.
Similar to what Beth was saying in her first point. Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, all good.
Yeah, I was just saying that, as Beth was saying, it's important to listen to people, because I think you can struggle to get the motivation if you don't know how your actions are really changing anything, because it seems like by just living a bit differently, you don't seem to be making any huge change. But I found that by listening to people who are a bit more affected by these things than I am, and like hearing how they're like, why they're so invested and how it directly affects their lives, it gives me a bit more motivation to kind of live a different way or do something different. And then sometimes finding motivation, like maybe things might be good for the environment, but they also might save money. You might get products that are better quality, and there are all these additional benefits that can also add to that motivation, other than just the fact that it's better for the environment. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Nice. That's a helpful list. Ali, do you want to add to advice?
Yeah, I think, just I would echo, despite wanting to be an echo chamber, I would echo Beth and Abigail's points. I think, there's a lot of tendency to focus on individual action, which is definitely important, but there's lots of other ways to get involved and support if that's not something you can do, whether that's costs attached to it or just agency, or if you still live with your parents, so maybe you have restricted decision making in your home or whatever it might be. But there are lots of personal options you can do that definitely do make a huge impact, whether that is reducing your consumption of animal products, to who you bank with as well, to your energy supplier. There's so many things that you can do to make a huge difference on the personal level, but there are so many other ways to get involved and to show your support as well. Whether that's signing petitions, supporting campaigns, sharing those on social media to get your friends involved, whatever it might be, all those things add up and do make a difference. And sort of to echo Abigail, I think contacting people that you see doing things that you support and you want to get behind is definitely a great way to get involved and get advice as well, whether that's on social media to see people, whether that's YouTubers to Instagram accounts that are informative on various issues, be it social, environmental, economic, sustainability, to even on LinkedIn if this is something you want to do in a career, and contacting people who are working in an area that you are passionate about and want to get more involved or learn about. All those things are really great approaches to kind of learn more and get more involved, depending on how you can and the time you have as well.
Awesome. I just took a lot of notes from all of you guys. Mashallah. Well, thank you guys for joining. I think that's all for our tea talk tonight. And I'm really excited for the SLC, and everybody who's listening, guys, please feel free to drop in at any time tomorrow and just shoot us a question via Instagram or email, and we'd be happy to answer it. And here's to a good year with the SLC. Thank you guys so much for joining and agreeing to attend. It was so nice to have a conversation about this. What time is it? It's like 2 a.m. here, but it was worth it.
Oh no, I'm so sorry I've kept you up so late.
No, it's fine. I was prepared for it. I took a nap beforehand. I was like, I need to get this done, and it's all good.
I was never was that late, because you look